Hello, pre-calculus. So there's a lot of questions, and by a lot I mean at least a few, of the questions that we had today on the Google Classroom on how to convert from rectangular to polar coordinates. I'm going to go over two examples here. One, converting from rectangular to polar and then polar to rectangular. And also based on like the quizzes that I give you, some will be in exact form using a special 36 and 90 triangles. I'm really only requiring you to have the approximate answer from your calculator. So if you're using your calculator, check out the answers on quizzes if that's what's assigned to us, or I assigned to you, to make sure it's the same value. Okay, so I'll go through that when I get there. So in this case, we have rectangular coordinates that we first learned about, and in the case that it's -4, -3. So we're right here. And in that case, what we want to convert to polar coordinates is we need to have a radius and we need to have a direction. So the radius is the length of this, what we look to be a vector, which is the magnitude. So to do that, we're using the Pythagorean theorem. So the radius is going to equal the square root of 4 squared plus 3 squared. Now you don't have to worry about the negatives, because when you square something, it's always going to become positive. The radius will end up being 5. So we got that. Now the question is, what is the degree? So to do that, we need to first find out the theta in our little right triangle here, where we'll use theta is going to be tan inverse of 4/3. Doesn't matter if it's negative or positive. We're looking at the absolute value of this. And in my calculator, make sure my mode is in degrees. Excuse the time it takes me to plug it into my calculator. It'll be 53, approximately, 0.1. Okay, this is approximate. So on top of that, I have to add 180 degrees, because I'm going 180 plus that amount of angle. So (180 plus) to get 233.1. Okay, so our polar coordinates are 5, 233.1. Now there's multiple coordinates that would work here, because you can have a negative radius. You can go -5, which would take you actually in the direction to the left, and then you'd only rotate down in the clockwise direction, or counterclockwise, sorry. So it'd be -5, and then 53.1. So there's multiple answers for that that'd be acceptable. And then now when we have polar coordinates, we have to be able to read these and then go backwards to find the x and the y for our triangle. So I'll show you what that means. So -4 means the radius is -4. I'm going this way. -4. That means there's 4 radii going to the left. Then I'm going to rotate 11 pi over 6. So 11 pi over 6 is very close to 12 pi over 6, which is 2 pi. One full circle. I'm short 1 pi over 6. So I'm going to be going in this direction 1 pi over 6 short. Right there. So what we need for the rectangular coordinates is the x and the y. So to do that, we need to find out this angle, which is pi over 6. You can also just use 11 pi over, well, so you can also use this angle right here, which would be 5 pi over 6. But if you just want to use this triangle, knowing what your reference angle is, knowing that x has to be negative, y has to be positive, we can go the sine of pi over 6 is equal to y over negative 4, because negative 4 is the radius. So this length is technically negative 4. In doing that, y is going to equal negative 4 times the sine of pi over 6. So y is approximately going to equal, no, there is an exact value for this, but I'm not requiring that. Negative 4, change my mode into radians, because otherwise you won't get the right answer. Sine of pi over 6, you'll get negative 2. But I know that y has to be positive, so I would say positive 2. And that's exact. There's no rounding there. We're going to do the same thing for the x value, which would be cosine, because the adjacent side is cosine. Cosine of pi over 6 is going to equal x over my radius, which is negative 4, or positive 4. It's not going to matter. We're looking at knowing that x in the end is going to be negative. So whatever you get here, you have to make sure x is going to be negative. So x is going to equal negative 4 cosine pi over 6 it becomes out to be approximately negative 3.46. So there is an exact value for that, but I'm only requiring the approximate. So rectangular coordinates will be negative 3.46, comma, 2. And that is approximate for the x value. I hope that helps in converting from rectangular to polar coordinates. I'm going to give you guys an assignment for converting back and forth for coordinates. And then after that, we're going to go to converting the equations from rectangular to polar and back and forth. So hope this helps. Hope all is well. And you guys stay strong. I'm proud of you guys. And we'll talk soon.